Number 10. A cop broke into a high school. On May 10, 2021, a former police officer turned cruise line worker broke into a high school prom in Hialeah, Florida, disguised as a teenage skateboarder trying to gain more followers on her Instagram account. 28-year-old Audrey Nicole Franceschini is an influencer who is facing multiple charges after she tried to appear much younger than her actual age. Reports indicate that she wore a backpack and carried a skateboard as props to blend in with the high school crowd. Franceschini went up to numerous students and handed them printed pamphlets with her Instagram handle. Although details of her Instagram account have not been revealed by investigators, independent news sources found an account they believe belongs to Audrey. The profile includes stories featuring her dressed in a skateboarder-style t-shirt, shorts, and mismatched trainers. Some of her posts show her wearing a Satan mask while expressing her views on various topics such as Joe Biden, designer clothes, her ex-partner, and the sheriff's office where she used to work. The woman's plan failed as soon as a school staff member spotted Franceschini and directed her to the registration office. But instead of following instructions, she began wandering through the halls of American Senior High School. She even filmed herself inside the school and shared the footage on her Instagram stories, although those posts have since disappeared. Security personnel intervened and told Franceschini to leave the campus, but she refused to comply, which prompted school administrators to be informed of a potential threat on campus. That's when she fled the school through the faculty parking lot. Law enforcement authorities tracked her down by using information from her Instagram account. They arrested her at her residence, and she made her first court appearance wearing an orange jumpsuit and mask the next day. Despite her elaborate scheme to boost her Instagram following, it appears that Franceschini's efforts have not been successful. Her primary Instagram account has a following of just 388 users, featuring mainly street art photos and pictures of a young boy who is presumably her son, along with angry rants. It is worth noting that this is not Franceschini's first encounter with the law. She previously worked as a deputy with the DeKalb County Sheriff's Office in Georgia, where she faced charges in January 2017 for hacking into another female officer's phone. According to allegations, Franceschini maliciously posted private nude photos of the officer on her Instagram and Snapchat accounts. Franceschini later left her position with the sheriff's office after being placed on administrative leave. She is facing charges of burglary, trespassing, and resisting arrest as a result of her actions at the high school, and as of now, she awaits her sentence. Number 9. The Angry Girlfriend. In August 2022, a member of the El Portal Police Department in South Florida was arrested and charged with simple battery after a fight reported by the Miami Police Department. According to the arrest report, Miami police officers were called to the residence of El Portal Police Corporal Emily Garcia's partner around 4:30 a.m. in response to a domestic dispute. Both Garcia and the victim, whose identity remains undisclosed, are also police officers. The victim informed the responding officers that he and Garcia, who had been in a year-long relationship, came back from an evening spent at Flanagan's Seafood Bar and Grill, where they had multiple drinks. The victim claimed that he woke up to Garcia biting his chest and slapping him. In an attempt to defend himself, he pushed her away, causing a bruise on her upper lip. El Portal Police Chief Alejandro Mendez issued a statement clarifying the incident occurred while Garcia was off duty and that she had been temporarily relieved of her duties with pay. Chief Mendez expressed the department's intention to thoroughly review the facts once legal proceedings conclude and take appropriate action accordingly. During Garcia's court appearance, her boyfriend came before the judge and expressed that he did not fear her and did not wish to obtain a stay-away order. So the judge imposed a modified stay-away order, permitting Garcia to have contact with the victim as long as there was no physical threats. What's more, she is prohibited from engaging in criminal activities or possessing a firearm. The judge ultimately released Garcia, indicating that she was not required to post bail to secure her release. Number 8. The unfaithful love triangle. On May 22, 2023, two women in Florida confronted their cheating boyfriend at Miller's Ale House in Palmetto Bay. The jilted lovers, Ana Alicia Perez, a 34-year-old Miami-Dade police officer, and Mila Zuluaga, a 35-year-old who was 7 months pregnant at the time, confronted the man about his infidelity. What started as a heated argument quickly escalated into a physical altercation, described as a public smackdown. According to a police report, both women repeatedly struck the victim on his face and upper body. The victim, whose identity has been withheld, suffered redness on his face and a small bruise on his lower lip. The details of how the women discovered each other's involvement with the man or the duration of the love triangle remain unclear, although Zuluaga was living with him at the time. Perez admitted to roughing up her unfaithful partner and acknowledged pushing and hitting him multiple times. Zuluaga was brought to the Miami-Dade Police Department's Special Victims Bureau, while Perez was transported to the Turner Guilford Night Correctional Center. The specific position held by Perez within the police department and her tenure on the force has not been disclosed. As the legal process unfolds, further details may emerge regarding the circumstances surrounding this complex and distressing incident of romantic entanglement turned violent. Both Perez and Zuluaga were taken into custody and charged with 1 count of battery in connection with the assault. Following the incident, Perez was placed on administrative leave with pay pending the review of the case by the state attorney. Number 7. The school shooting chaos. On May 31, 2022, after the devastating school shooting that killed 19 children and 2 teachers in Uvalde, Texas, a sheriff's deputy, Christopher Lofton, from a neighboring law enforcement agency who had been dispatched to assist the Uvalde Police Department, was arrested for public intoxication. An internal investigation was conducted by the department into an incident on June 2nd, where Lofton's level of intoxication was found to be a danger to himself and others. During the incident, Lofton was off duty and stationed at temporary living quarters in Uvalde. Due to his erratic behavior, Uvalde County local law enforcement arrested him for public intoxication. Following the conclusion of the internal investigation, authorities determined that Lofton had violated multiple department policies. However, specific details regarding the policies he had breached were not disclosed in the statement. The Brazoria County Sheriff's Office recently announced that Christopher Lofton is no longer employed by the department and has been permanently relieved of his duties. Do you think his punishment should be harsher? Let us know in the comments and hit subscribe while you're at it. Number 6. A cop involved in drug trafficking. In July 2020, 3 individuals, including a 3-year police veteran, were arrested for their involvement in narcotics trafficking. 25-year-old Michael Sosa is accused of supplying illicit pills to 28-year-old officer Joseph Recker, who then sold them to 53-year-old Michael Corbett, a suspected street dealer. Police stopped Recker on Tuesday night shortly after he left Sosa's residence and made a surprising discovery. Upon searching his car, law enforcement found a hidden compartment in the dashboard containing illegal pills, including 100 pills of oxycodone hydrochloride. Further investigation led to a search warrant at Recker's house in West Islip, where authorities found $10,000 in cash and a substance believed to be steroids. Additional search warrants were carried out at Sosa's residence in Brentwood and Corbett's house in West Islip, resulting in them capturing over $60,000 in cash, an unserialized ghost gun, 376 grams of narcotics, and drug packaging materials. The investigation was initially prompted by a fatal overdose on September 3, 2019, involving a Long Island man who had consumed a deadly combination of fentanyl, hydrochloride, and ethanol. Analysis of the victim's cell phone led investigators to discover a connection between the dead and Officer Joseph Recker, who was the source of the pills. While it is yet to be determined if the pills sold by Recker directly caused the man's overdose, the officer faces additional charges of unauthorized use of a computer and official misconduct. All three men were arrested separately in Suffolk County District Court on various charges, including conspiracy, possession of a controlled substance, and sale of a controlled substance. Corbett was released without bail, while Sosa remained in custody with a $100,000 cash bail requirement. If convicted, each defendant could face a maximum sentence of 25 years in prison for their involvement in the alleged narcotics trafficking scheme. Number 5. A mysterious murder. In February 2023, a police officer from Georgia was facing charges of kidnapping and murder in connection to a young girl. Miles Bryant, a former officer in Doraville, an Atlanta suburb, had already been arrested for the death of 16-year-old Susana Morales in the summer of 2022. The teenager vanished without a trace on the evening of July 26, 2022, while walking home from her friend's apartment nearby. The family reported her missing the following morning, but the initial assessment by the police suggested that she might have run away, as there was no immediate signs of foul play. The circumstances surrounding Morales' disappearance remained shrouded in mystery until her body was discovered in February 2023 in a wooded area over 20 miles away from where she was last seen alive. The investigation swiftly focused on Bryant, who served as a courtesy officer at the apartment complex Morales had visited and where he also resided. Authorities found a gun registered to Bryant near her body, which became a critical piece of evidence. Bryant was arrested and fired on the same day after law enforcement discovered Morales' body. Although Morales' family members claimed to be unfamiliar with Bryant, it was revealed that he lived close to her apartment. The police chief of the Gwinnett Police Department revealed that Morales was likely kidnapped between 10 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. while she was walking home and is believed to have been dead by 2 a.m. Specific details regarding her final hours were not disclosed, although there is a possibility that she was sexually assaulted. Bryant also filed a false police report on the day Morales was reported missing, claiming that his gun had been stolen. Despite this attempt to deceive investigators, Morales had not been shot to death. Following Bryant's initial arrest, 21-year-old Alicia Bates came forward and claimed that Bryant had stalked her on multiple occasions and even broke into her home, leading her to purchase a firearm for self-defense. At first, he was charged with concealing information related to the disposal of her body, but after the chilling new details emerged, Bryant was charged with felony murder and kidnapping. Number 4. A joint effort. In March 2019 in Long Island, a former NYPD police officer and his wife, who worked as a teaching assistant, were arrested on charges of operating a drug-dealing operation near a school. 59-year-old Kenneth Riggio and 53-year-old Faith Riggio were taken into custody after Nassau County police officers carried out a search warrant at their North Merrick residence after multiple tips were received by law enforcement. During the search, authorities discovered a large quantity of illegal substances, including 200 oxycodone pills, as well as cocaine, heroin, and Xanax. What's more, over $146,000 in cash was found there, along with an $85,000 cashier's check, a switchblade, envelopes, and scales. The cash found in the house appeared to be organized and packaged, strongly suggesting that it was proceeds from narcotics sales. The most alarming aspect of the situation was that the drug operation was being run across the street from a daycare center, the Belmore Merrick Administrative Building, and an alternative learning school attended by children daily. The couple's lawyer, Michael DeGarbedian, suggested that the painkillers and the substantial amount of cash could be related to a recent personal injury settlement. Kenneth Riggio had served as an NYPD officer for 4 years before being dismissed from the force in 1985 for reasons that remain undisclosed. Since leaving the police department, he has been involved in various criminal activities, with a record that includes arrests related to narcotics, driving under the influence, and assault. At the time of the arrest, Kenneth was unemployed. On the other hand, Faith Riggio has no prior criminal convictions and works as a special education aide at Camp Avenue Elementary School. Following her arrest, the school district placed her on administrative leave. Kenneth was facing multiple charges, including 3 counts of criminal possession of a controlled substance with the intent to sell, 11 counts of criminal substance possession, and 1 count of criminal possession of a weapon. He remains in custody with bail set at $500,000. Faith was charged with a single count of 5th-degree criminal possession of a controlled substance, and her bail has been set at $50,000. Number 3. The Slurring Cop. On July 4, 2022, a police officer from Florida found himself in hot water when his fellow officers discovered him driving a police cruiser while severely intoxicated. A concerned resident witnessed 25-year-old Oscar Mayorga swerving and running stop signs, prompting them to call the police and report his behavior. When Mayorga was pulled over, he admitted to consuming 3 tall cans of beer, which placed him at a blood alcohol level nearly 5 times the legal limit. Interestingly, Mayorga was scheduled to work a shift at the Opoka Police Department that evening and believed that leaving a 6-hour gap between drinking and starting his shift would be enough to sober up. The situation took a dramatic turn as police body cam footage captured the bleary-eyed Mayorga being questioned by his colleagues. His condition appeared to get worse rapidly, and he was eventually placed on a stretcher and transported to the hospital for medical treatment. Other officers came to the scene and asked Mayorga to roll down his window, instantly detecting the scent of alcohol when he complied. Mayorga, who was slurring his speech, informed the officers that he was headed to work, but his forgetfulness about an open beer can in the center cup holder raised suspicions among his colleagues. The officers informed Mayorga about the presence of the open container of alcohol, to which he responded incoherently, claiming that it was from 3 days ago. The police officers could smell alcohol on his breath, leading to his subsequent arrest for DUI. Initially, Mayorga attempted to attribute his condition to taking 3 Benadryl tablets 2 hours earlier, as they can cause drowsiness. But the officers questioning him expressed disbelief, wondering why he would consume such medication knowing that he had to work that night. Throughout the interaction, Mayorga's speech remained slurred, and he struggled to answer the officers' inquiries. They eventually had him place his hands on the car's roof and confiscated his firearm for safety reasons. When asked if he wanted to go to the hospital, Mayorga initially expressed hesitation, but then requested their assistance. Tests revealed that Mayorga's blood alcohol level was a staggering 0.391, nearly 5 times the legal limit of 0.08. As a result of his actions, Mayorga was placed on administrative leave while authorities conduct further investigations into the incident. He was taken into custody and booked into jail on $1,000 bond after refusing transfer to the hospital. Number 2. A police officer accused. In March 2020, a Louisiana deputy planted crack cocaine next to a handcuffed suspect during an arrest. The action was captured in a video that went viral on the internet. Sheriff Joseph Lopinto held a press conference to address the viral footage, stating that an internal investigation conducted by the department has revealed a different perspective. According to Sheriff Lopinto, the deputy did not plant the evidence at the arrest scene. He further stated that the suspect, 26-year-old Dominique Griffin, is remorseful for fueling false accusations against the officer and for biting one of the deputies involved in the incident. The chain of events began unfolding at approximately 3 p.m. on March 16th, when deputies responded to a 911 call that reported drug sales in Bridge City. They found the suspect, later identified as Griffin, near the intersection of 4th Street and West Wego Avenue. Griffin resisted arrest and bit one of the deputies before being subdued and handcuffed. The cell phone footage in question begins at this point, capturing Griffin on the ground, restrained with his hands behind his back, shouting claims of innocence regarding the baggie of crack cocaine. In the video, a deputy kneeling in front of Griffin is seen holding a plastic baggie containing a white substance. The deputy then transfers the baggie from his right hand to his left, before dropping it onto the grass and picking up another item. That's when Griffin and the woman recording accuse the officer of placing the baggie on the ground. The woman off camera alerts the deputy that the incident is being filmed, which prompts the officer to confront her. In response to being recorded, the deputy charges at the woman holding the phone, shouting that it is evidence. The woman attempts to flee and the video abruptly ends. The initial statement from the agency mentioned that the suspected drug evidence recovered from the scene tested negative for narcotics, but was still collected for further analysis at the crime laboratory. Later tests determined that the substance in question was indeed methamphetamine. During the internal investigation, each deputy involved in the incident was interviewed separately. According to the follow-up statement released by the sheriff's office, all deputies provided consistent accounts of the events. They maintained that the bag containing pills was removed from Griffin's pants pocket before being placed on the ground and subsequently picked up again as depicted in the social media video. As part of the investigation, detectives interviewed Griffin and executed a search warrant on his phone. The search yielded information connecting Griffin to the drugs seized from his pocket, including text messages related to the drug sales, planning and scheduling. Griffin was booked into the county jail on charges of battery of an officer with injury, and resisting arrest with force or violence. After the substance tested positive for methamphetamine, he faced 2 additional counts of drug possession. Number 1. The Drunk Cop. On March 12, 2023, an Oklahoma City police captain was arrested for driving under the influence. 55-year-old Captain James Matt French, a seasoned police veteran, was seen swerving and speeding in his unmarked SUV, which was owned by the city. The Oklahoma City Police Department released body camera footage revealing French sitting inside his vehicle in the driveway of the home he claimed to share with his mother. As the officer approached the SUV, he inquired if French had been drinking, to which French responded by saying that he was a captain of the police department. French then gestured towards his chest and quietly requested that the officer turn off the camera. Despite French's initial request, the officer disregarded it and proceeded to ask French about his alcohol consumption. In an attempt to avoid being recorded, French repeated the motion toward his chest, signaling the officer to stop the body camera recording. In disbelief, the officer firmly stated that he was not turning his camera off. The officer continued his investigation while French claimed he had been playing poker and had consumed 3 or 4 beers, with his last drink occurring around midnight, nearly 2 hours before being pulled over. When questioned about the wisdom of driving under the influence, French defended himself by saying that he drove from just 4 blocks away. During various field sobriety tests, French struggled to maintain his balance and made his request to the officer to turn off the camera for the 3rd time, pleading by saying please. The officer reminded French of the department's body cam policy, stating that he was unable to turn it off. Following the arrest, French was booked at the Oklahoma County Detention Center and has since been released on bond. With 32 years of service in the Oklahoma City Police Department, French is considered a veteran of the force. The investigation into French's arrest is ongoing and has been placed on administrative leave. Do you think any of these cops were given fair sentences for their crimes? Let us know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Bad Badger.